All right, what's up, everyone? Adam McKenzie here from the Ultimate You Project, and welcome to this week's episode of Mindset Monday. And if you read the headline to tonight's episode and it caught your attention, you either have a very dirty mind or you're just interested to find out more, which was my entire intention. Funny thing about sexual innuendo, right? People instantly want to find out what this person is talking about. And I found that for the last couple of videos. So I'm having a bit of play on words more because I get more eyeballs on these videos and it gives me more of an opportunity to connect and help even more people. So tonight's episode is all about how hard do you like it? And what I am talking about is literally the word hard. And I have the privilege of speaking to so many incredible people all around the world on a daily basis, both clients and new people inquiring about our program. And it's very interesting listening to the wording around hard and around what they deem is hard, difficult, challenging, in their way, impossible sometimes, or, limiting factors for them to be able to actually do what they want and be able to achieve the outcomes that they are striving for. And perspective is a wonderful thing. Hindsight and perspective together is even more powerful because often people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they can't see. And it's a big thing that I find with a lot of my clients in the beginning when they come on board with certain belief systems. And those belief systems have a limited view. They can only see a certain amount of things. They can only see certain outcomes because the beliefs are the limiting factor in that vision, I guess you would call it, or being able to see certain outcomes. When those beliefs start to change and when they start to see those outcomes come to life, it's incredible how quickly those belief systems turn into belief systems that allow them to see opportunities and results that they once couldn't even wrap their heads around. Sitting there 26% body fat down, wearing clothes that they haven't been able to wear for 35 years, being able to do things that they never deemed possible in 4, 8, 16 weeks that they haven't been able to do for 20 years. That's life-changing, that's transforming. And what they see as hard at that point is very different to what they saw hard when we had our initial conversations. And what I want you to really think about out of tonight's episode is, where do you want your hard to belong, right? Do you want your hard to be based around all of the things that you can't do, that are difficult to do, that are the circumstances that you can't control, that are stopping you from doing this, that are based around a lot of the excuses and the stories that you've been carrying around for a long time? Or do you want your hard to be based around what you're fitting in, how consistently you're doing things, the discipline you're creating, the level of time that you're dedicating to investing in you, right? Which hard do you want? Do you want the hard to be all of the reasons you're not able to do something, or do you want the hard to be based on how hard you are trying, right, on a day-to-day basis to do things that are in line with what you want to achieve and who it is that you want to be, right? Is it easy to get up every morning when it's dark and it's cold? No, it's hard, right? Is it easy to always be conscious of the choices that you're making that are in line with what you want? No, it's hard. You have to be conscious, right? I talk about this with parents all the time. People think that suddenly your kids instantly realize that, they're important to you, but they don't. It takes being present. It takes time. It takes energy. Well, it's the same when you're investing in yourself, right? A lot of people will unconsciously give themselves to everybody else first, especially women. It's innate. It's ingrained in how a lot of them have been brought up. And it's almost, sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's just based on what they've always seen. It's their perspective around, serving everybody else before they look at serving themselves. And the way I look at that scenario is, what's harder? Going through your entire life, never putting any time and energy into investing in you and creating what you want and feeling and looking the way you want? Or is the hard finding the money, dealing with your limiting beliefs around being able to actually invest in yourself, both financially and with time and energy, and then committing to that. Like, is that the hard part? Or is the hard part going through 20 years of never, ever, ever feeling better? Never, ever changing your outcome, your results, the way that you feel, everything that has been holding you back, and living in that state of unhappiness, low self-esteem, low self-worth, poor body image, terrible self-talk, pain and suffering a lot of the time, because they literally have a loathing and a hate for the way that they feel. Like, that to me is the hardest thing that you could ever do in your life. And I say this all the time, but fuck that. Like, why choose that hard? Why choose that pain when, sure, is it going to take energy, effort, money, time, commitment, discipline, consistency over time to achieve what you want? Yeah, it is. But I would choose that hard every day, all day, for the rest of my life, because even if I only get up the next day to be one repetition, 1 minute of something better than I was the day before, I'm moving forward. I'm creating progress, right? And people look at me all the time, it's so easy for you to train. It's so easy for you to do that. I'm like, 60% of the week, I don't want to get up. Especially at the moment, I'm working my ass off. I'm tired, right? To get up is not easy, but I do it because every time I choose that hard, I feel better. I move forward. Every time that I choose the shit that's holding me back and in the way of me actually creating momentum and moving closer to my goals, I have to live in the, oh, you didn't do that today. Why didn't you do that today? You should have done that today. Like, listening to that conversation, that hard sucks. I don't want to deal with that. So I choose this hard, and I choose this hard every single time, because every time I let myself go back there and I do it again and I do it again and I do it again, guess where I start to operate from, right? And I promised everybody in my group last week I was going to share my fat photos and my journey around mastering the mundane. And I literally have not had a chance to do that, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm going to get it in there at least today or tomorrow. I'm going to share it on my personal page as well, so that you guys can see I've been really fat. I've been really lean. I got fat again for lots of reasons that were associated with what I was choosing in terms of my heart. What I was choosing in terms of my belief systems that either kept me in pain or moved me closer to how I wanted to feel, right? Like, people will look at the word hard and go like, that takes so much time and energy and everything else. I'm like, cool. You're choosing to have 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine every night. You're choosing not to exercise because you say you don't have time. You're choosing not to invest yourself because you say you don't have money, but yet you find money for alcohol and things for the kids and your 70-inch TV or whatever it might be, right? You can justify that, but having to invest in yourself, no, I can't do that, right? I feel guilty around it, or my husband won't support me, or whatever it might be, right? What you don't see is that short-term easy decision leads to hard, long-term pain and making things 10 times harder than they ever need to be. And that's where most people come to me, is because they've tried everything. Everything hasn't worked. They stayed in this yo-yo cycle, and they've never been able to merge the worlds of mindset, process, and strategy to be able to create a sustainable solution. And they stay in this frustrated, overwhelmed, yo-yo, nothing's working for me world. And I look at that and I'm like, well, fuck, which one's harder, right? Like, you want to go take the easy choices now to create the harder outcome later, or do you want to put the hard work in now to make sure that things only get easier longer term? Because you have a routine, you have discipline, subconsciously you choose you now. You have a belief system that knows that if I fuel myself first, everything else in life is better. I am better, right? Is it easy to do that right now with everything else you got going on in your life? No, it's not. It's hard. But which one do you want long-term? Do you want to end up 20 years down the track feeling crappy and looking back on all the opportunities that you had, all the things that you tried that didn't work, all the things that you did and you failed in, and then, what a crappy person I am and all the rest of that stuff. Like, that's the hard that I would love to remove for everyone. That's the hard that, if you ask me, it shouldn't even exist. But it does, because of crappy belief systems, because of the instant, gratification of, sometimes I'll just take the easy option because it's the path of least resistance. Whereas, do you know what? I got to walk through a headwind over here. I've got to find time. I've got to find money sometimes. I've got to be able to do things when I don't necessarily want to, or when it feels really hard to be able to do them. But to end up where I want to be, to end up how I want to feel, to end up with the body that I want, to end up with a routine that I can master and make my own for the rest of my life. To be able to eat the way I want, to be able to live the way I want, to be able to have a sustainable solution based on my lifestyle. Am I willing to put the hard in now? Right? Or am I going to go here and deal with the hard later? And that's the biggest question that I want to leave you with tonight, right? Like, how hard do you want it? Do you want that hard, or do you want that hard? Do you want your hard to be now so that it's easier later, or do you want easy now so it's harder later? Because I know how hard I want it, and I don't want it to be hard long term. I don't want to have to suffer in pain and self-loathing for another day of my life. Why? I've been there. I lived there, right? I have clients that literally have spent majority of their life there, and watching them transition into easy because they've done the hard now. Watching all of this noise and this weight and this burden and this attachment to scales and negativity and failures in the past and all of that shit, watching it like fall away and dissipate and disappear and never return. All right. And when you understand the stage of this transformation, you understand why it never returns. Because now they're a different version of them. They're a different version of them that has different belief systems, that sees things differently, that now they live in a simpler and more easy way because they chose hard. And you know what? Even when things get easier, they're still going to choose whatever they need to continue to push to the next stage, versus to go back here and deal with this hard that keeps them stuck, keeps them unhappy, keeps them overwhelmed, keeps them feeling shitty about themselves, to then end up where? To end up in exactly the same place, longer term. And it's a question I ask literally when somebody inquires about a call with me. It's on my application form. Like, if things don't change for you in the next 3 years, how are you going to feel? Because at the end of the day, you may want to do something. You may even convince yourself that you need to do something. But what's going to make you want to do something right now? What's going to make you choose hard right now? Right? I got to get used to technology. I got to get used to a few things. I got to get used to tracking again. I got to get used to all that. Oh, that's too hard. I'll just go back here and stay in suffering for 20 years. Because that's not hard. Right? But we don't see it. We see the short term. So if I can empower you with anything, choose your hard. Choose how hard you want it to be, both now and in the future. And give yourself the perspective of, long term. Because at the end of the day, if it's a short-term solution, are you setting yourself up for a future failure, for a future struggle, for a future roadblock that somehow you're going to have to figure out again later, and again and again and again and again, right? Versus creating something that will give you what you want long-term, that will make things simpler and easier long-term, no matter how hard it is right now. And when I say hard, like, I couldn't create more of a simple process for my clients. And it's the number one feedback that I get from them all, is just how simple things get, right? But in the beginning, in their minds, everything seems so hard. Once they make the investment and then they commit the time and energy and the daily do, shit suddenly gets easier. So, how hard do you want it? Which hard you're going to choose? Comment below, let me know. And if I can help you get away from this crap, right? And put something in place that might seem in your mind hard right now, but I'll show you just how simple and easy it can be to then create a solution that is long-term going to be easier for you to maintain forever and get the results you want. Then reach out to me. Comment below, send me a message, and I will break down exactly how I do that and how I've done that for thousands of clients around the world for the last 24 years. Otherwise, I look forward to connecting with you next week, and look out for my fat photos because they will be coming, I promise, by tomorrow at the latest.